Well, speaking of contract extensions, so the lack thereof one with our star player of Bryan Reynolds.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know what's the latest on him, if there even is a latest on him.
Yeah.
I know you've been talking numbers and such. I don't know if you have any actual like real insight. Do we keep hearing this 75, 76 more than? I don't know. Just let's talk about Reynolds. Like, where are we at? Where are they doing with him right now?
I know he's on the team, and they plan to keep him on the team, at least in the immediate future. There's a couple things with this, and this is generally where I try to be careful and not get myself in trouble. But we've talked about it enough. I feel like it's sort of out there, so I'll try to go over it quickly. I do expect them to keep him at least through the trade deadline. I think one of the things that I've heard with this is you don't want to have a player ask for a trade and then immediately get traded. I also don't think there's a great deal here for the Pirates to make. You need something to change the minds of the teams that are interested. And I've used Texas as a pretty good example where they're not willing to give up a lot of these like top 100 guys. And for the Pirates, it's like, okay, well, we're not doing it then. There's no reason for us to do it if you're not going to give us legitimate high-end pitching. But if Texas gets into the season and they're really missing an outfielder and Reynolds will help, they're probably going to get a little bit more desperate. So I think that's how this gets done. As far as where the numbers are, at least from what I understand, Heyman's numbers are a little bit off. I've put my estimate, and once again, I preface this with this isn't a means of quality reporting. It's just generally if I have reported something and it's wrong, somebody will tell me it's wrong. It's been an awful long time where I've reported things, which again, they're like confirming sources and a whole process that goes into it. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm just going to throw something out there, and if nobody tells me it's wrong, it means it's right. Like, no, there's a lot more that goes into it. But like I've reported a $50 million difference in like what the Pirates have come in at and what Reynolds' ask has been around. My understanding is the Pirates' offer was darn close to 6 years and $80 million. I think Heyman had 6 years and $76 million. So it's probably a little bit higher than what Heyman had. And I can say like Reynolds has used Matt Olson as a comp, and for good reason. That's a perfectly logical thing if I'm Reynolds in his camp. And, I think it's a little bit below that because he's not at the point where Olson was at when he got extended for 8 and 168. So, you're a little bit behind with the idea that like, I'm not going to sign something for 80 because I think I'm worth more. And my understanding was their ask was around 8 years and like 135 to 140 in that range. So it's about 50 million. I do think it's a gap that can be closed. I don't think that, I think they have to want to do that. And I think they need probably a good start for Reynolds to feel good about it. Maybe he talks to Andrew McCutchen, maybe some like tempers cool. Because Reynolds asked for the trade. Pirates weren't really keen on him asking for the trade. I think there needs to be like, we're going to come back together again in June and talk this out. Right now, it's not going to work. But yeah, I think that's everything I know with the situation right now. And the last thing I would hint is this is like my Reynolds FAQs thing where people like email me or tweet me or they're mad about something. Like Reynolds' trade request was not based on him being upset at the Pirates or him being, I hate Pittsburgh. I hate the city. I hate my teammates. I think things stink here. Like I have to get off the island. It's going to blow up. Like that's not where he's coming from. It is more contract based and feeling like I am worth this and I can get this. I'm not going to get it here. So let's get this thing going. I have years of control. Teams are going to want to trade for me. I'm going to pull the ripcord now. It's before the winter meetings. Like this is a tactic. We saw his agency do this with JT Realmuto, puts him in a really good spot with the Phillies. I get why it's being done, but people have interpreted it like, Reynolds hates Pittsburgh and wants out. Not necessarily. Reynolds just wants a contract that he feels like he's worth, and this is strategy. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's a long-winded overview of the situation. Sorry to ramble.
So I don't think there's any type of short-winded you could give us for that. So
I'm sorry.
So
yes, probably.
So the day that this all like got broke, I think I tweeted at you or I quote tweeted you, and I was like, I said something about, maybe the Pirates should make a fair offer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said,
remember the back and forth. Yep.
You said something along the lines of, Reynolds camp isn't saying it's not fair.
Yeah.
When you said that, was that more like, did you know what the offer was around about at that point in time? Was it okay?
Yeah. So I knew what both offers were at that time.
So what makes you think it's fair? Or like, what does Reynolds like? It's not fair. Like that offer is not fair. I guess is where I'm coming from.
I think wasn't the term used insulting though?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe insulting.
Knowing Jim, yes.
I would agree that
I speak in hyperbole a lot. Yeah.
Okay. I would agree that it's not fair. It's not something he should sign, and it's low. I won't agree that it's insulting. I understand where they're coming from with it. And I wrote this a couple weeks ago. Like, you can look at Sean Murphy. And again, people will say, why Sean Murphy? What the heck? Because at the time that I wrote that, I believe he was the last one to sign a reasonable contract. Came into the league same time Reynolds did. They have about the same service, about the same games played. Yes, Sean Murphy's a catcher. Bryan Reynolds is an outfielder. Yes, Bryan Reynolds is a far better hitter. Sean Murphy's a far better defender. Reynolds has been worth more WAR. But, what did Murphy get? 6 years, $73 million. And Reynolds should get a little bit more than that. And that's what I'm confident off of. Like, if it was 6 years and 90, 95, I think I'd feel a little bit better about it. Like, I definitely, like I said, I will agree that the offer is low and not one he should sign. But I just I don't think it's insulting for, like, Reynolds knows where he is. We know what the Pirates are. It's not like they're signing other guys to $150 million contracts and they're like, here, Brian, play for this. Like they are what they are. I don't know. I feel like I'm saying this and I'm like defending it. I'm not. I'm just saying it's not. I don't feel like it's outright insult.
No, I get what you mean, and I guess when we say things like they are, they're like they are, and this is me. Obviously, I understand the economics of baseball, but you look at other teams who are similar situations to the Pirates, and they're able to make deals like this.
Yeah.
I floated out. I was like, unless the Pirates just do not want to commit to Bryan Reynolds long term, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't say, all right, does 8/125 get it done? Because it probably does, right? Like 8/125, does that get it done? Let's lock you up.
One hesitancy that I understand in this thing is honestly like term. So take that a different way. What if they went 6 and 90, 6 and 95? Pay him more per year. But I understand that from the Pirates' perspective, to where Reynolds at the end of that deal would be what? An 8-year deal would be 35?
35.
We're doing rough math. Yeah. I don't think that's a great deal for them. I'm not sure they want to be doing that.
I think you get creative. Like we talked about, like we talked about this with
what front loaded.
Yeah, because like the payroll still, even right now, I think Ethan's numbers right now are right around $72 million, right?
Yeah.
That's still embarrassingly low. Like that's embarrassing.
That's insulting.
That's insultingly low, yes, to all of baseball in general, like, and to just people, to the human race, that's insultingly low.
Human race. That might be hyperbole.
Jim got there.
Like, let's get it. Let's get it done. Let's pay him now so that down the road you have maybe, like, when he is 34, 35, you're not paying him $20 million. You're paying him 12. And surely he'll in 8 years, he'll be worth $12 million. Baseball, by that point, who knows what contracts are going to be like. I don't know. I just feel like they could get creative with it. The payroll's still so low right now. I don't think you won't convince me that the Pirates can't have $100 million payroll.
No, I think they'll get there.
Right. So I'm like right now, they could have $100 million payroll. So like, they don't even have to get there. Like, let's get closer to it, lock him up, and then down the road, that frees up more money for other extensions for Henry Davis, Andy Rodriguez, O'Neal Cruz maybe, but who knows what's going to happen there.
Yeah. I do wonder, they are so into the Moneyball approach. And if you look at what Tampa has done, I mean, Tampa signed Kiermaier. Are they similar play? I mean, Wander Franco is kind of a different thing. I feel like Wander Franco would be a discussion to have after the Pirates create this, build it, and sustain it for a little bit. I don't know. It also feels like it would never, ever happen in Pittsburgh because we're talking about Bryan Reynolds, 8 and 135, not going down compared to that. But yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. That the payroll should be higher. I'd like to see the payroll higher. I think they look at the Rays and the small ball stuff and say, we're just not going to jump too far too soon, right or wrong. Like I just think that's the strategy here, and saying like we're going to rely on numbers, prospects, younger guys, grow this. Like our pocket is AA coming into AAA. When those guys get up to the majors, like that's when you're really going to start to see change. Even comparatively, this offseason, you're spending $30 million and some change to build that bridge to that group. Great, but I mean, it's not breaking the bank in any way, not the way a Reynolds extension was. And I think they look at it and say, he's a great player, but we can probably, replace that production for less. And the residual is fans being pissed off. Well, they've been pissed off for a long time anyway. So what's it matter? I'm not defending it. I just think that's probably the rationale.
No, yeah.
Do you think what are they more caught up on? Is it the dollar amount or the years? Like, is it just like, listen, we're not going past 6 and that's it. So if you want to talk 690, 6100, we'll talk that. But it's just the fact that we're not going past 6, or is it just a combination of all things?
I think it's probably a combination of all things. I don't know if I could say, based on what I know, that it's one more than the other. I think I would summarize it this way. I think the Pirates believe that they made a very fair offer to Reynolds for 6 years and $80 million. Roundabout, we'll say. And I don't think that ever got any real traction in the Reynolds camp. And I think they view it as we're singing out of 2 entirely different hymnals. We're done here. And, I think that irritated the Pirates and probably just shut, because, I mean, you go public with the trade request that clearly didn't sit well with the Pirates. The relationship, I can tell you, is not in a great spot right now. Not that it can't be repaired, but I mean, they're not real happy with one another. So I don't know. I think that the Pirates made an offer that they felt was fair. Reynolds in his camp did not believe that. And I think the Pirates would probably have to move in the first place. I don't know totally what direction they would have to move. And, maybe with some time and a good start by the Pirates, that could happen.
But you're thinking more likely this time next year he's on another team.
Yeah.
Then he's a Pirate.
Yeah, I don't see how he finishes the year. I don't. I mean, I'd like to concoct scenarios where he sticks and they sign him, and I don't. I think they probably trade him at the trade deadline. Some team comes at them with something reasonable and they just make the move. I see the years of control mattering to him, and I see their desire to build this thing with prospects and try to replace him with younger players. And I think they're going to, when you have guys like, I don't know, Key Bryan and willing to sign the deal he did, like they'll put a stake in the ground, to quote Bob Nutting in that press conference. They'll do that with those guys. And I think there are going to be other select situations. But if somebody's really looking to cash out here, it's just not going to happen. And the Pirates are going to let that guy go and try to replace him.
All right.
Well, that's a bummer.
I know.